capital were built by slaves. Unable to find as many workers as they needed from Europe, the government turned to slavery. Historical records show that hundreds of enslaved people built the Capitol and the White House, and their wages were paid directly to their slave owners. Life of the enslaved laborers who built the Capitol remains largely unknown, but most of them lived in shacks on the building site and received basic medical care and 2 meals per day. They were also responsible for acquiring building materials such as stone, lumber, bricks, hardware, and nails. This legacy of enslaved labor and construction extends beyond the Capitol and White House. Many American cities from Atlanta to New York City still use buildings, roads, ports, and rail lines built by enslaved people. These men, women, and children played a crucial role in building the American economy, but have been largely unrecognized and uncompensated for their contributions. The use of enslaved labor is a stark reminder of the deep-rooted history of slavery and its lasting impact on American economy and society.
All right, Shalom. All right, let me get straight into this lesson. But we literally built this whole country, right? We didn't get any compensation, right? For all our labor, you know what I'm saying? Sweat, blood, lynching, alligator bait, broken homes, broken families, Jim Crow era, right? Low wages, madness, you know what I'm saying? There's all these things that have been done to our people, right? And you seeing this picture right here, this heavy right here, because you see this Jake to the left. Jake is oppressed, in poverty, hopeless. All right. And it's going into the curses, right? And you see this Edomite to the right, living a good life, right? And it's the typical, right, thing that you see in this society. But these people are saying they want equality. They just saying that, right? All right, so let me get into this lesson. Give me 1 second. So our people saw no benefit, right, from the oppression, the rape, robbery, torture, you know what I'm saying? And all these so-called white people get to run around here today and benefit off what their ancestors have done. And when you really, you know, go deep into it, they are the ancestors back reincarnated, right? And that's something that you have to really understand, right? But they did you in every way they could possibly do. And they continue to do it to this very day. They gave you this idol, right? That's still implanted in most of our people's mind. That's why they can't condemn the so-called white race, because how you going to condemn the so-called white race and your God? This is your God. In your mind, that's what most of our people still see, right? So let's get into this lesson. Let's go here. Ecclesiastes 7:7. It says, surely oppression maketh a wise man mad. So that's why we walk around with a chip on our shoulder, so to speak, right? Because we wise, because we see exactly what's going on. You got these Jakes in La La Land, right? Our people are spiritually dead. They sick. They spiritually confused. They don't know if they coming or going, right? They unwise, right? They do things that's unprofitable, right? They're lost sheep. Read this again, Ecclesiastes 7:7. It says, surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, right? It says, and a gift destroyed the heart, right? So the so-called white race have lynched, raped, robbed, pillaged, broke up families, stole identities, right? Stolen lands, broken every treaty, right? And they try to act like they're the moral authority. Let's go to this word moral authority, right? This definition, rather, right? So the so-called white race have no moral authority to tell us anything, or try to set the moral authority. It says moral authority. It says relating to the standards of good or bad behavior, fairness. That's something that the so-called white race is not going to do. They're not going to be fair. It says honesty. That's something they ain't going to do as well, etc. So you don't get to do all this ill dealings and get to play the moral authority, right? So you did something called religious indoctrination. And most people are still sick in the head, right? Suffering from something called Stockholm Syndrome. What is that? Right? It says Stockholm Syndrome. It says Stockholm Syndrome is a coping mechanism to a captive or abuse situation, it says people develop positive feelings towards their captors. You hear this? So that's why when we condemn the so-called white race, you have our people that's defending them, right? They're, you know, condemning us because we condemning them. But again, if this is your God, right? This is your Messiah. There's no way that you can condemn these people and call them out on all the ill dealings and treachery, right? Let's go back here. Stockholm syndrome, right? Let's go here. Stockholm syndrome at the very top is typically considered a psychological defense or coping mechanism experienced by some during extreme trauma. So our people been through extreme trauma. They got this term that's called, let me go to it real quick. It's called post-slave syndrome. And I'm gonna be doing a lesson going into this, right? Let me go to right here at the very top. It says post-traumatic slave syndrome. This is the manifest of a psychological, spiritual, that's the most important. It says emotional and behavior syndrome that results in a lack of self-esteem. It says persistent feelings of anger, right? So yeah, we do have that righteous anger, right? As a matter of fact, let's go to the whole thing, right? Like I said, I'm gonna be doing a lesson going into that because slavery never went anywhere. It just got more disguised. It's more, hidden, right? It's more systematic, right? So racism is literally everywhere you look, right? They built a whole nation on slavery, right? Let me go here. It says post at the very top, post-traumatic slave syndrome. All right. Let me go. Right here. It says the book argues that the experience of slavery in the United States and the continued discrimination. See, a lot of these Jays get so simple-minded, they act like when so-called slavery ended, which slavery didn't end, you was emancipated. When you go into the word emancipated, it means transfer of property. You was transferred from private owners, plantation owners, to public owners, right? Which would be the federal government. It says, let me read this again. It says, the book argues that the experience of slavery in the United States and the continued discrimination and oppression endured by Israelites, I'm not going to say African Americans, right, creates intergenerational psychological trauma. That's why you got most of our people don't care about what's going on, right? Or they into drugs, they into shoot 'em up kids. You know what I'm saying? You got all this wickedness that's going on among our people. They act like they people never was enslaved, right? They have this progressive attitude. They're completely lost, right? Let's go here. But you don't get to play the moral authority after all your ill dealings, and you get the benefit of all this stuff that you stole, right? Let me go Salakia. Let me go back here. That's what I want to show you. Look at this. This is a stark contrast, right? This is a heavy visual right here, right? And these Edomites, they don't give a damn about your suffering. They get irritated when you talk about reparations, but we're not worried about reparations on this side. Our reparations coming from Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah, right? But they get irritated. They get pissed off. They say they pull their own self up by their bootstraps. They said it's equal now. They say it's fair, right? So that's why we call them devils, because they not gonna never, right, really deal with this issue. Let's go back here. So they get irritated when we talk this way, and they got Jake. People are so simple-minded, they regurgitate these Edomites things that they say. It says irritated. So the truth irritates these Edomites. They don't want to talk about it, right? It says irritated, showing or feeling slight anger or annoyed, right? but you get the gist of it, right? So they are annoyed and irritated when we go into they don't have to pay for what they have done, right? Let's go here real quick. And you people, you know what I'm saying, a lot of people don't know this information, so I'm gonna bring it out at the very top. It says slavery in America. It says in what now is the United States is generally thought to have began in slavery began in 1619 with the introduction of the first so-called African slaves, you Israelites, into Virginia, and legally ended in 1865, just shy of 250 years. It says, however, that's a bit Anglo-centric. It says the Spanish had colonized parts of what is now the United States in the middle 1500s, so you don't know about that history. It says and had several large-scale destructive explorations in what is now the United States Southeast in the early 1500s. It says the Spanish had Israelite slaves as well as enslaved so-called Indians. So that's why, you know, the so-called Indians with brown skin, originally brown skinned people, the Israelites, they got, some of them got categorized as so-called blacks, right? The Southern Kingdom, right? It says the various Europeans, which would be Edomites, who colonized parts of the United States had Israelite slaves, including the English, Dutch, Spanish, French, the Danes, and the Virgin Islands. So that's why all these Jakes speak Spanish in different parts. They speak Portuguese, right? They speak in these languages. They calling themselves bywords. They don't know what's going on. They lost, right? You got the so-called Brazilians, the so-called Haitians, the so-called Dominicans, the so-called Jamaicans, right? These are large populations of Israelites that are lost. Right here, it says, so in reality, the history of slavery goes back about to 1519, right? Well, there you go. Let me go here. I'm gonna read this real quick. It says the United States pays reparations every day, not to so-called Black America. So they go to show you dealing with a devil, right? And they put all these roadblocks in your way, all this oppression, and our people love it. They continue to try to join hand and foot, right, with these people and be a part of their society so they could fit in, because they under something called Stockholm syndrome and religious indoctrination, right? And education indoctrination, right? So you've been indoctrinated on every part of your life, whether you know it or not. All right. It says what America owes, how reparations would look, and who would pay. Right. So that's something that they paid everybody else reparations, but they not gonna pay you reparations. But our people can't put one and one together, right, and figure out that these people is the devil now, right? But I'm gonna call a lesson. Let me see what else I got lined up. I think I had a scripture. Yeah, let's go here. Zechariah 11:5. It says, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. So that's the common rebuttal for these Edomites, so-called white people. Where it wasn't me. But hold up, you got the benefit, and you still continue to benefit of what your ancestors did. You're accessory to a crime, right? But they don't give a damn. But that's why we got Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua give a damn though. And they sell them and say, blessed be the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. That's what they say, blessed be God, right? For I am rich. They got rich off slavery. Very, very unimaginably mind-boggling rich. That's how you got these sprawling cities, these affluent neighborhoods, these mega corporations, all based in slavery, right? It says, and their own shepherds pitied them not, right? Call Allah Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua Bahashem Rachat Hodash Shalom.